It wasn't until my 68th birthday that I realized how much my surroundings had started to mirror my inner world. At first, it was subtle: a coffee mug left on the counter, a stack of newspapers I kept meaning to read, a layer of dust collecting on the bookshelf I once prided myself on organizing alphabetically. They were small things, yes. But little by little, they began to pile up. And as my home grew messier, I found my mind did too. I often hear people say that mental health is invisible. But I beg to differ. Sometimes, it's lying right there on the cluttered dining table, or hiding in the pile of laundry that never seems to make it to the closet. My decline didn't come from some dramatic life event. It was slow, like watching paint fade. I began sleeping more, socializing less, and I lost interest in cooking, something I'd always loved. I told myself it was just aging, just the natural slowdown of life. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. My thoughts were foggy. I forgot things I used to remember effortlessly. I didn't feel depressed, not exactly, but everything felt heavier. As if I were walking through syrup. One afternoon, I was searching for my glasses and found them under a stack of unopened mail. That was the moment that cracked the shell. I looked around and saw the home I once cherished had become a museum of my own neglect. That same week, I stumbled upon an article from a geriatric psychiatrist who described how hygiene and environment impact cognitive clarity and emotional regulation. He wrote about the psychological concept called cognitive load, how visual clutter competes for our attention, reducing our ability to focus and think clearly. It hit me: my home wasn't just messy, it was mentally exhausting. So, I made a decision, not a dramatic one, but a quiet, persistent commitment to reclaim my space and, with it, myself. I didn't start with a massive deep clean. I started with the sink. Just the sink. I washed every dish, wiped down the faucet, and polished the basin until it shone. It might sound silly, but it was the first time in months I felt like I'd accomplished something tangible. Cleaning that sink set off a chain reaction. The next day I cleared the counter. The following week, I tackled the dining room table. And each task, no matter how small, seemed to brush away a layer of mental fog. It wasn't just about cleanliness, it was about regaining agency, about telling my brain, you are still in control. You see, when our surroundings are disorganized, our brain interprets it as unfinished business. That keeps the mind in a low-grade state of stress. Over time, this can contribute to anxiety and depression. Conversely, order and cleanliness signal safety and stability. The brain's stress response lessens, and the mind begins to settle. I experienced this firsthand. I also began to incorporate routines that supported both mental clarity and physical well-being. Morning stretches while airing out the bedroom. A warm shower followed by moisturizing my skin, something I'd long neglected. Small, thoughtful acts of self-care that reminded me that I mattered. One particularly important step was creating what I now call my morning activation ritual. It's simple: I open the blinds to let in natural light, put on calming instrumental music, and spend 5 minutes writing down what I want to do that day. Not a to-do list, mind you, but intentions. Things like, prepare a fresh lunch, or call Linda just to chat. Why is this so powerful? Well, neurologically speaking, light exposure in the morning helps reset the circadian rhythm, that internal clock regulating sleep and wake cycles. It also boosts serotonin production, a neurotransmitter crucial for mood stability. When paired with physical activity, like light cleaning or stretching, this helps increase endorphin levels, further lifting mood and motivation. The writing down of intentions does something else: it gives structure to the day. For many older adults, especially those living alone, time can become abstract. Without structure, days blur together, and this lack of differentiation can lead to emotional dullness. By assigning meaning to each day, even in small ways, you give your life rhythm. Rhythm, my friend, is the heartbeat of good mental health. I won't claim it was easy or that it happened overnight. But within 2 months, not only was my home cleaner, brighter, and more welcoming, I also found myself smiling more. My mind felt sharper. My sleep improved. I was cooking again, simple meals, but made with intention. And the quiet joy of making my bed every morning became my anchor. In the next part, I'll share the specific changes I made to my home's organization, how each area of the house affects different aspects of mental and physical health, and how I began to develop a deeper understanding of the mind-body-home connection that we so often overlook in later years. Once I had cleared the sink and taken those first steps toward reclaiming my space, something unexpected began to shift inside me. It was as if my environment was slowly exhaling after years of being stifled. I didn't just notice it, I felt it. My mind, which had felt clouded for so long, began to open up like a window after winter. Let me take you room by room, because each space in our homes plays a unique role in how we feel and function, especially in our later years. The kitchen, nourishment and the psychology of usefulness. I started in the kitchen, not just because it needed attention, but because I missed cooking. You see, the act of preparing food isn't just about nutrition. For many older adults, it's about identity. It's about caring, creating, and, most of all, remaining useful. When we stop cooking, we often stop feeling necessary, even to ourselves. Cleaning the kitchen was like excavating an old part of me. I cleared out expired cans, wiped out drawers, and rearranged my spices. But more than that, I began to use the space again. I started by making simple soups, then moved to baking small batches of muffins I could freeze and reheat. This wasn't just practical, it was medicinal. Psychologists call this behavioral activation, a therapeutic strategy where engaging in meaningful activities can ease symptoms of depression and apathy. And there's a biological aspect too. When we cook our own food, especially from fresh ingredients, we're more likely to consume nutrient-dense meals that stabilize our blood sugar and support brain health. That's critical in older age, as glucose swings can impact memory, energy, and emotional regulation. The bedroom, sleep hygiene and emotional reset. My next project was the bedroom. I used to treat it like a storage space with a bed. Clothes on the chair, books under the nightstand, old receipts in the drawer. And yet this is where I was supposed to rest, to renew. There's an important principle I learned later, called sleep hygiene. It refers not just to how clean your bed is, but how your sleep environment supports the quality of your rest. Studies show that clutter in the bedroom is linked to insomnia and fragmented sleep, especially in seniors. Why? Because clutter signals chaos to the brain. Even with eyes closed, your brain remains alert to disorder. So I simplified. I removed everything that didn't belong in a sleep space. No bills, no phone chargers, no stacks of paperbacks I wasn't going to read. I washed the curtains, opened the windows, and placed a lavender sachet near my pillow. Each night I began to prepare for bed the way one might prepare for a ritual. Soft lighting. A short reading session. And a few deep breaths before lying down. Within 3 weeks, my sleep improved. I wasn't waking up as often. I felt more rested in the morning. There is science to support this. Sleep is when the brain clears waste via the glymphatic system, which only activates in deep rest. Better sleep, quite literally, cleans the brain. That clarity I felt? It was physiological. The living room, identity and control. This was the hardest area for me. Not because it was messier than the others, but because of what it represented. The living room had become a monument to my indecision. Old magazines, boxes of cables, decorations from holidays long past. There were items I didn't use but couldn't let go of. What if I needed them one day? But here's what I learned. Clutter is postponed decision-making. And each postponed decision takes up space, not just physically, but mentally. The term decision fatigue comes to mind. Every item in view asks a question: keep or toss? Use or forget? So I took it slow. I didn't try to organize the entire room in one day. I set a timer for 20 minutes. 1 drawer, 1 shelf. I asked 2 questions with each object: do I use this, and does this bring me calm? If the answer was no, I thanked it quietly and let it go. As I reclaimed the living room, something beautiful happened. I wanted to be there. I began sitting in the armchair by the window with a cup of tea. I called friends and sat on the now clear couch while chatting. I felt not just capable, but connected. There's more to that, too. Studies from environmental psychology show that organized, personalized living spaces foster feelings of competence and social openness. When we feel good about our surroundings, we're more likely to engage with the world. The bathroom, routine as restoration. I won't spend too long on the bathroom, but let me say this, restoring order there was perhaps the most intimate gift I gave myself. I added a soft bath mat. Replaced harsh soaps with calming, unscented ones. I made it a place of comfort, not just utility. I also added something new, a small notebook where I record 3 things I'm grateful for after brushing my teeth at night. It sounds small, even silly. But this practice of gratitude journaling has shown measurable effects on emotional well-being, especially in people over 65. It reframes the mind. Turns the focus away from what's missing, and toward what's meaningful. In this phase of my journey, I didn't just clean my home, I restructured the relationship I had with my space. And with each improvement, I could feel my mind following. Brighter thoughts. More energy. Better digestion. Sharper focus. All of it tied to simple, physical actions taken with care. In part 3, I'll share the deeper emotional effects this transformation had on me, how hygiene and order opened the door to spiritual clarity, connection with others, and ultimately, a rediscovery of purpose in later life. Why does it matter? Why go through the effort of cleaning, organizing, tending to small routines when the world outside moves faster, louder, and sometimes seems like it has forgotten you? Let me tell you what I've learned. A new kind of silence. After my home was back in order, clean, calm, and thoughtfully arranged, I began to notice a new kind of silence. Not the kind that used to make the house feel empty. No, this silence had weight, like a warm blanket. It was peaceful. Before, the clutter spoke constantly. Even if I wasn't looking directly at the piles, the brain notices. Subconsciously, each object whispers, "You should deal with me." That's cognitive noise. And it robs you of clarity. But now, with less clutter and more intention in my space, my mind had room to breathe. I started journaling again. I called people I hadn't spoken to in years. I even joined a local seniors book club, something I'd always said I would do, one day. It felt like I'd stepped out of a fog and back into life. The body responds to kindness. You may think this is all psychological, and much of it is, but let me be clear, your body knows when you are being cared for. When I began washing my feet every night, massaging them gently and applying cream, it wasn't just about preventing dryness or fungus. It became a ritual that told my body, you are worth this care. My circulation improved. My balance did, too. I started sleeping more deeply. I no longer woke up groggy or stiff. When I made my bed each morning, it gave me a sense of progress before I even had my tea. When I wiped down the sink, my hands were moving with purpose, and my mind followed suit. Neurologically, these small routines reduce stress hormones like cortisol and promote the release of serotonin and dopamine, chemicals tied to happiness, motivation, and peace. There's a reason hospitals and care facilities encourage patients to engage in grooming and light tasks. It restores a sense of control. Autonomy is medicine. Connection, rediscovered. One afternoon, not long after I'd reorganized my living room, my neighbor Linda came by. "Your home feels different," she said. "It's lighter." That made me smile, not because of the compliment, but because I realized she was right. The energy had changed. And so had I. We had tea, right there in that once cluttered corner that now held a small table, 2 chairs, and a vase of fresh flowers. We talked for hours, something we hadn't done in years. This is what order does. It makes space, not just on the shelves or in your drawers, but in your life. It invites people in. It invites joy. Hygiene, mental health, and the soul. It's easy to see hygiene as a chore. Something we do because we should. But the truth is, it's an expression of self-respect. Think of your daily routines not as maintenance, but as connection. Connection to your physical body. To your mental rhythms. Even, dare I say, to your spirit. A clean space supports reflection. A clear countertop makes room to cook for yourself or someone else. A tidy entryway reminds you, you are still living, still receiving light, still welcoming the world. When we let our spaces decay, or let hygiene slip into neglect, it often reflects something deeper, a quiet resignation, a message we send ourselves that we no longer deserve care. But the moment we reverse that, even in the smallest ways, we begin to write a different story. One that says, I am still here. I still matter. And I am choosing to treat myself with the dignity I deserve. The gift of simple things. If you're reading this and thinking, it's too late for me, let me offer this, it never is. You don't need a grand gesture. Start with your nightstand. Or your kitchen drawer. Or your pillow. Choose one corner of your life and tend to it with love. Then watch how the mind responds. You might feel your mood lift. You might sleep better. You might reach for the phone and reconnect with someone you love. That's not coincidence, that's healing. At 68, I didn't expect to reinvent myself. But by cleaning my home, by washing my feet, by softening my routines and showing up for myself every day, I found something I'd thought I'd lost. Joy. Quiet, steady, powerful joy.